right. Hello, Patrick. How are ya?
I am young Stan. You?
Yeah, good. Lots of things have happened. We've got a Omicron variant of COVID-19 now, which is a concern.
Well, we're getting through the alphabet. Well, that's what we're doing, aren't we?
Yeah, it's coming from South Africa.
Well, I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
Because it was found in Europe before it was reported in Southern Africa. Now, there's a difference. Southern Africa, we are including Kenya, Mozambique, Botswana.
Yeah.
Other countries. It's not only South Africa, but it's that whole Southern Africa, which includes quite a few countries, like Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Botswana as well. So it includes that whole slab of countries across the bottom. There is a difference. And the South Africans get very touchy if you say it's South African.
Oh. No, it's quite scary indeed. Like, it's a couple of people have caught the Omicron variant in New South Wales, but I'm concerned that this is going to spread like the Delta strain did.
We don't know. The difference is that Delta strain was my godfather 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
It was like last century. And since then, almost all of the population has been vaccinated. So even if it does spread, there's every chance it won't be as bad.
Have you had your booster shot yet?
I'm not ready for it yet.
It'll be next year. I think I'll get mine in March.
Yeah. Well, I'll be due on the 22nd of September. December, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have to get the Pfizer?
I get what they give me.
Yeah. So are you just getting it at the GP or you go to the pharmacy?
I'll probably go down to the same place I had my other two shots, which is the centre down in Campbelltown.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'll be getting.
Yeah, just place it.
I'll be getting my booster shot next year as well.
But the easiest place to get it was just down there, and I might see if I can make an appointment for the 22nd of December. 23rd. No, might as well get it done and dusted.
Oh, exactly, because it's going to be like supply and demand.
Yeah, I think that there will be a bit of a rush, but I was one of the very early phase 1 and B receivers. So I'm actually one of the very early ones who was fully vaccinated. So I have the best shot before it really starts hitting.
The thing is, you remember flight MH370 that mysteriously disappeared? Apparently, they're still investigating that as well.
Well, that's strange. Yeah, that one will always be ticking away on the back burner. The problem is that the Indian Ocean is a very large body of water. And they were working from less than a second's worth of information about trying to locate it. So it really was an almost impossible task, and you have just dropped out.
Yeah.
And back in again.
How come they can't recover the black box, the flight recording of it?
Because they don't know where the plane is.
That's very odd.
It's somewhere in the bottom of the ocean. See, what happens is that commercial planes have things called transponders, which as they fly along go beep, beep, telling people where they are.
Yeah.
However, the pilot of this plane, which is why they believe the whole thing was deliberate and was the pilot doing it, turned that transponder off. So the automatic tracking of the plane was turned off.
That's illegal.
Oh, yeah, but if you're going to commit suicide, what matter?
Yeah.
It had to be turned off from inside the plane. But when the plane has a second transponder, has a second system, that's part of a different control system. I think it's to do with the collision avoidance system. That doesn't give us much information at all. It just kind of basically goes beep. It doesn't say where I am. It just says beep.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to work out from how those beeps were picked up by the satellites, roughly where it was. Something like a reverse GPS.
See, a lot of these air crash, they were blaming it on Russia. They said Russia shot it down with a missile. The media at one point.
Well, hang on, that's another one. Hang on. Are you talking about 317 or 370?
MH370.
Which one was that? Was that the one that was shot down or the one that went down?
I think that was the one.
The one that was shot down, they've got everything. They know that.
Yeah.
See, the one that was shot down, and I'm sorry, I have trouble with these numbers because they're very similar. The one that was shot down over Ukraine, they've got the black boxes, they've got the plane, they've got all the information about it. They know it's hit by a missile. And people are being charged with shooting it down. The one that went, and so that one's all the, and Russia was almost certainly involved. Indirectly. It was a Russian missile provided to rebels or people in that area who probably need a Russian to help them shoot it. However, the other Malaysia flight, one that went down over the Indian Ocean, they know nothing about it at all. Sorry, I get these numbers confused.
Yeah. I mean, it's MH370, this has been going on for a couple of years. This has, Patrick.
Oh, no, this kind of, because of the international ramifications, it'll go on for years, yes.
I think... Yeah. I think this was... Yeah, this was pilot error. I think this was deliberate.
No, hang on. Which one are you talking about? The one that went down over the Indian Ocean?
Yeah.
Almost certainly. That's 370. Okay, that's right. Well, that one was... They believed that almost certainly was deliberate.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because... Well, several things. No pilot is going to fly his plane 1,000 kilometres off course, or 2,000 kilometres off course accidentally. No pilot who's a couple of thousand kilometres off course will have it turned off the transponder that I was talking about. And no, Russia wasn't involved in that one. You're confusing that with the other Malaysian flights.
Ah, okay, yeah. Have you
totally different.
Yeah. Have you watched Air Crash Investigation?
Oh, I do watch it occasionally. I've seen most of them by now, so I'm actually saying, "Oh, I know what's going to happen next. I know what's gone wrong."
That's interesting. Like,
I can be like the person at the magic show who knows how the trick works. I can be smarter than the investigators.
It's like this is not the first time a pilot's done this, Patrick. Switched the black box off and then just turn the aircraft and boom. This has gone on years as well, but it's weird they can't find the black box for MH370 that crashed in the Indian Ocean.
They can't find the black box because it's at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah,
and it only goes beep, and it goes beep. But that beep only goes on for a month.
Yeah,
It's only got a finite battery in it, and after that you're looking for a box, bright red, about 50 centimetres by 30 by 20 or something, not big, in the middle of the ocean, at the bottom of the ocean, with 1,000 metres of water, on top of it. You're not going to find it unless you know where it is.
Exactly.
Unless they somehow locate the wreckage, they'll never locate the black box.
You see, you remember in the olden days of airlines, you used to be able to smoke cigarettes on the plane.
Yes.
Now, why did they stop that? Yeah. Why did they stop that? What happened?
Health.
Yeah.
All those people who are saying, I don't want to get cancer from smoking other people's cigarettes.
But they used to go at the back. But
you're in a use load. You're in a finite box with the air going around and the same air going around and around and around. You can't not get the cigarette smoke wherever you are in the plane.
But that was
seriously.
Yeah.
No, seriously, it was basically health reasons.
Yeah, the old days.
It became just impossible to do it because the airlines knew that they'd be gone immediately because somebody said, well, I've never smoked in my life. The only time I've been exposed to cigarette smoke, etc., is when I was flying with you.
Yeah. No, this is
Well, that's unlikely. It'd be very hard to prove that.
Air Crash Investigation's an interesting show, Patrick. You know.
Oh, it is, yes. But as I said, I've seen it all several times. As I said, it's
There was this case where I think a left engine off a plane just the mechanics didn't do a proper job. Yeah, it fell off, and then the plane just exploded. And it goes to show, well, if the mechanics aren't doing a proper job, they're going to get the sack. Cutting corners.
If they don't do a proper job, in many jurisdictions, they face manslaughter charges.
Mm.
They actually face jail time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, people have been sent to jail for not looking after planes properly.
Mm.
But sometimes a mistake is silly. Sometimes it's almost understandable.
Yeah.
When the earliest example of an air traffic investigation that I can remember was, my goodness, the late 1960s, an Anson bike up, big bike looked like it was, the plane crashed up in the Northern Territory.
Mm-hmm.
And they worked out that what was happening was that a little Welsh plug, which is a little rough screw plug, they in the sun, they put it the wrong way around.
Oh no!
The screws in backwards.
Yeah.
So what it meant was that there was a little puddle of oil, and that caused the fire.
Oh dear.
And that would have had to involve finding that thing and then carefully rebuilding. But that is the kind of accident that can be made.
Mm.
That's the scary thing. That's the slightly scary thing about flying, that people are all human. Occasionally they do make genuine mistakes.
Yeah, so it goes to show, simple mistakes like this. The Russian hockey team, the plane, it didn't take off on the runway, and the pilots just didn't abort it. It was one of the Yak airplanes.
Oh, well, all sorts of things go wrong. I mean, takeoff and landing are the most dangerous times. Landing is the worst. Takeoff is also very dangerous. Because you're under full load and the plane is actually doing what is the hardest thing for it to do. Getting up to speed and things. But again, they can never work out why the pilot did or didn't do what he did or didn't do, because
lack of training.
It can be in some cases, but even carefully fully trained, sometimes something new happens. The way some of these pilots, were able to land planes steering using the engines only, that wasn't in the manuals. The first pilot who did that in a major aircraft invented it literally on the fly.
So it was out of the rule book pretty much.
Oh, yes. And that is where because he was trained to stop, sit back and think before he did anything.
There have been crazy pilots in Peru that have just decided to fly through a storm and not divert the plane to the nearest airport as well.
They're not necessarily crazy. Often, in these situations, come from the fact that the powers that be, the people who run the company, are saying to them, "Boy, you can't afford to be 10 minutes late."
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Shit!
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, something similar happens on the road with the truckies. They're kind of told you're not allowed to be 10 minutes late. No, because often, with planes, time is money. Yeah. And every minute flying costs you, I think it's $1,000 or $2 for a major aircraft. That's a lot of money to spend. 10 minutes is all adds up a reasonably good amount of money.
The problem is there have been pilots that have had complaints that were going too fast as well.
Same thing.
I don't get it. It's like...
No, same thing. They're burning excess fuel. They build their airline timetables around flying at a respectable cruise speed, flying with the weather. Okay, if you happen to get a good strong tailwind, then you will arrive earlier than expected. But that's not flying too fast. That is just because the plane still flies with the air speed. The indicated airspeed is the important thing.
Yeah. So time is money in the airline industry, pretty much.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Very, very much so.
Like, I think there was Peru Airlines. The government shut them down because they didn't have the correct safety equipment.
Oh, yes. I mean, there are lots of airlines that have been... I wouldn't know which one it was, because there's quite a few airlines in Peru. Yeah, I mean, there are airlines, small airlines, medium airlines, and I don't know what their national carrier is if they have one, but they're major airlines. Every country of any size has several airlines. It's
the simple mistakes, like the flight engineer decides to go sit leave the cockpit and leave the two pilots.
Yeah.
That's they shouldn't do that.
Well, it's a poorly designed plane.
Yeah.
It requires 3 people to fly it. Now, the flight engineer's job is to deal with things when they arrive, and he's allowed to go and have a break. He's required to.
Oh, okay.
He's allowed, after all, here's things like his ladder. He has to go and have a leak.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. No. The flight engineer's job is to monitor the engines, but he is actually acting in parallel with the pilot has most of that same information in front of him. Just the flight engineer, if something goes wrong, the flight engineer can handle that problem while the pilot is still flying. I mean, they can separate the jobs. That's the main job of the flight engineer. If something goes wrong, the flight engineer's job is to try and fix it instead of the pilot and the co-pilot trying to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, and too, you got to think like silly mistakes and miscommunication as well happen. They should all agree on what their abort speed is, but these are.
Oh, that's in the book.
Yeah,
that's in the book. The V1, V2 speeds are in the book. But if they miscalculate them,
and it happens.
That's what happens then, or. You get a slightly young pilot who says, "Oh, we're close enough.
Yeah,
I'll keep on keeping on." But don't forget, if you're travelling fast enough, you can't abort a flight. You can't abort because you've got to run out of runway.
Yeah.
So try to stop a plane that's in the process of taking off at even a second too late, and you're in a bigger mess than if you get into the air. But if you're in the air, you've got a chance of going around and coming back. So the preferred option is to actually get into the air.
Yep, that's all you can do. And like I said, the problem with Yak Airlines, the pilots just kept their foot on the, I think on the brake or something, and they couldn't take it off. This was the Russian one.
Well, I mean, as I said, if the pilot suffers some kind of physical derangement, something goes wrong with his body.
He did. He had a nerve problem, and he should have been stood down from flying.
I know. Okay, but he wasn't, and whether or not who knew about it is another story.
Yeah.
That's another story, who knew about it, and therefore who was responsible. But again, that's the kind of thing that shouldn't happen if all the appropriate checks are taken. But then equally, sometimes these things don't look as bad as they are.
Exactly, and like going back to, there's been some Air Force pilots who have sadly, deliberately crashed a plane as well, Patrick.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's
mental health.
Mental health, yeah, and that is a hard one to pick up. Because I think we all know people suffering with mental health issues. Sometimes it's quite obvious. Other times you can't see a thing wrong with that person until they go off the rails. And sometimes just ticking away there in the background, the time bomb.
Yeah, I think he was a pilot in the Korean Air Force.
Yeah. Oh, there have been several cases of that.
Fighter pilot, and I think he was told to come back to base and he disobeyed orders, and I think 12 men got killed on a training mission, which is quite sad.
That's a scary thing, because it's not only you that gets involved.
Mm.
It's what you do when you come down as well.
Now, a fighter pilot, they're told it doesn't matter if it's a storm, they've got to be there, even just push it as well. The mission comes first.
Well, again, flying a fighter plane is quite different from a commercial plane.
Mm.
But even then, they have to make the risk assessment.
Mm.
Do I try to go through that impossible storm or not, bearing in mind that the fighter is so much smaller that a storm that a jumbo can get through, what would be safe, but with trying hard, the fighter pilot couldn't get through there anyway.
Mm.
So no, they are subject to the laws of physics.
Yep.
The laws of physics triumph everything.
Exactly. Even a jumbo jet, there's flights that are cancelled because of thunderstorms as well, Patrick.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of power in a thunderstorm. A hell of a lot of power in those storm clouds, those storm systems. I mean, we see it on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've all seen storm damage on the ground. I don't think we've actually had any really bad ones out in this neck of the woods, but you've seen the pictures of them. You see them happen in Sydney occasionally. Where you get roofs ripped off suburbs, etc. That is the small end of the storm. Mm-hmm. The big end of the storm is up in the clouds, where the real storm is, the real tumult, the real wind, the real incredible crunch, smash, bash power is up there at the cloud level.
You'd think a highly trained pilot would use common sense and avoid it, wouldn't you?
They try to.
And go...
Unless they have been trained that they have to get there on time.
Yeah.
So this is the problem. Sometimes their training is training that we have to get there. So, I know flying around a major storm is. And the other thing is often it's hard to gauge the size of a storm until you hit it.
Yeah.
You might see a cloud up ahead that looks like a cloud, and your wind radar things show nothing serious. You go in and it turns out to be packing a strip saw in the middle of it. And all of a sudden you say, oh, rude words, I am now in the middle of a storm that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
Or pilots have been caught trying to fly between two parts of a storm and then find there was no way out the other end. Things like this. So it's not always carelessness. There are elements of luck.
Yeah. But it should all try to be avoided too, I think. Yeah. But that's what I've been watching on my watch list, Air Crash Investigation. It's very interesting, Patrick.
Oh, I said it really is. It's 90% of the time it turns out to be something that somebody did wrong. Occasionally it is something actually breaking. And then the question is, did somebody do wrong in missing that thing was going to break? I mean, did somebody miss the signs of it going to break? And that's also a bad thing to do. And sometimes it's the weather and things like that, the external, and sometimes it is actually outside influences. I mean, sometimes there's something being done deliberately, but most of the time there's somebody just somewhere along the line making a mistake. But equally, it could be somebody along the line, making a mistake that was forgivable because normally would have been forgivable. Because they're following instructions, they're following protocol, but something in the setup of the rules was wrong. So it's a complex business, and it's you're right, it's a fascinating show, but as I said, I've seen it so often now that... No, I'm serious. I can time and say, oh, yes, that's the one where...
Yeah. It's just silly things like a left engine just on takeoff just just fallen off. You know, mechanically, they cut corners, Patrick, and not.
Well, no, the thing is, they don't necessarily cut corners.
They want to do it the quick way, not the proper way.
Often again, there's time. Time is money, don't forget.
Mm.
Often they're under pressure. Often it is pressure to get the job done.
Mm.
So it's rarely the complete fault of the person doing the job is what I'm saying.
Mm.
It is very often somebody above that person who created a situation in which that person doing the job, if I recall, didn't put the right pin in.
Yes, that's the one. And wear and tear as well, Patrick.
Yeah, and wear and tear is a hard one because they rebuild these planes a lot.
Mm. It was American Airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that often these planes are rebuilt a lot, but not totally.
Yeah. But it gives the company a bad reputation when this stuff happens too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's why, the airlines are really very proud of their safety records.
Mm.
I mean, you've got Qantas and I think the other one is Lufthansa, which are the two oldest airlines in the world, interestingly. Both also the only airlines with no deaths.
Wow. That's a miracle. What about Virgin Airlines and all that?
I don't know about Virgin. They've had some things happen to them, from memory.
Mm.
And I'll talk about Qantas, the international airline. I'm not sure about the locally operating, but that's historically.
Mm-hmm.
That was a point in Rain Man.
Mm.
Qantas got a plug in there because of that.
You remember the 747s Qantas used to have?
The Jumbos?
Yeah.
They still have a few. They're still using them.
They were one of the best.
The Jumbo, the 747, changed the world of flight completely.
Mm-hmm.
It was a phase shift, is the correct term. Prior to that, the biggest planes flying were 707s.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the 727s, which were small local planes. Now, the 707 seated about 170 passengers from memory.
Mm.
4 abreast in a long, skinny tube.
Mm-hmm.
Then along came this plane that could seat 300.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, for the same amount of flying hours, not much more fuel, because these were more efficient, not much more fuel, same crew time, because after all, if you use the same crew numbers, certainly the front-end crew, you're taking twice as many people.
Mm.
Fares went down by 30, 40, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, everybody was flying around the world.
Mm.
And once that happened, you're laughing all the way to the bank. That's what made the difference. I mean, they worked out that they could ship a lot of people for about the same cost. They could charge less because competition cut in, and the world became smaller.
Mm.
So it was a good plane. Well designed, well built. I mean, they are still flying them. They were introduced 50 years ago, 60 years ago almost. Almost 60 years ago, the 707s, but so we'll have 50 years. But for an aircraft, for a plane to be, that's a long time.
Mm. They had the they were going to have the Airbus A380. They used that one as well.
Don't think a few of that. Now the thing is, the A380 is the beginning of the next generation, where they build biggish, but not as big, with only 2 engines.
Ah.
So they didn't use half the fuel. They used about 3/4 of the fuel, because each engine was more efficient. They could build them with better engines, so the planes were a bit smaller, but not guzzling as much fuel. So again, it comes back to major cost fuel. They can fly more people for the same amount of fuel in a smaller plane.
Now, Singapore Airlines, you can fly, I think, San Francisco to Singapore. It's 20 hours straight.
Yeah, they're setting a flight Perth to London.
What about Sydney to?
And the other one was Sydney to Dallas Fort Worth.
What about Sydney to New York?
No, to Dallas is where they're flying.
Oh, okay. But you think...
Which is the middle of America, which is the hub. Dallas-Fort Worth is the major airport in the United States.
Yeah.
But it's kind of right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So you fly to Dallas, you can fly anywhere.
Mm-hmm. How much... you got to think how much fuel this thing's going to use to be able to fly 20 hours straight.
I should know. It's about 100 tons, I think. Well, I measure fuel in tons.
Yeah.
I think it's about 100 tons.
But is the pilot going to have to put the gas on the accelerator too?
No, he has to fly carefully.
Oh, okay.
But the rule is you have to have a couple of hours left over when you get there.
Yeah.
And because they're flying into the middle of America, it's not as critical because once they cross that west coast, you know, they've got for the next 3 hours or so flying into Dallas, there are airports everywhere.
Mm.
So things like that. But yes, they do chew up a lot of fuel still.
But you got to think, if you're going to sit on a plane for 20 hours, they're going to have to make it big with room because that's a long time.
Sorry, travel class.
Fuck that. Nah, I'm getting off.
Oh, no, they every time they build a new plane, they show it this wonderful setting with all these wonderful leg rooms and things. But the airlines, when they get them, say, no, we want to have it our way.
Yeah.
Because, however, little things actually are making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
They're making the padding on the seat and the whole frame thinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 5 or 6 centimetres thinner. But they're keeping the spacing between the seat the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you get another 5 or 6 centimetres of leg room.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Oh, trust me, it is something. It makes a difference between having a tallish person having his knees bumping, his knees not bumping.
Mm.
So it does make a difference.
No, you're better off just you're better off just stopping over, Patrick. I'm not sitting on a plane for 20 hours. No way.
Oh, no, I couldn't stand the thought myself. I mean, I've done 9-hour flights, I've done the 12-hour flights, but that's about it.
13's the longest. I mean, if you're going to Europe, what's the longest you go? 16 and then stop over for 4 hours?
Yes, I've done that, yes. I've done Europe, I've done Australia, I've done Sydney, Singapore, London.
But it wouldn't be healthy. Like, don't the airlines care about people's health and all that? Blood clots and stuff like that?
Oh, blood clots are a 21st century invention. They didn't exist.
Didn't they?
Yes, they did. they weren't known about it.
Yeah.
No, they do. That's why they kind of suggest you stand up and walk around and things like that. They do actually suggest that.
Mm.
But the planes is that there are people for who getting there in the quickest possible time is important.
Mm.
You know, if you can get there in 20 hours instead of 30 hours,
yeah,
that's 10 hours of work time at the other end you've got.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long way.
Yeah.
You know. But it goes to show, like, do you think a 747 be able to fly at 20 hours straight?
I think they were modified 747s with one of them. They've done it with a modified 747, I think.
Mm.
In fact, I think, did they fly a 747 direct from Sydney to London?
Yeah.
Once.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. But, yeah, you remember Concorde?
Yeah.
They stopped flying. That was fast as hell to, you could get from Paris to, I think, was it
New York?
New York in 3 hours?
That's right, yeah.
Why'd they stop?
It crashed.
Oh.
And, yes, they had a major crash on takeoff.
Yeah.
And it cost a hell of a lot of money to run.
Yeah.
I mean, at those speeds, it was, you're pouring fuel into it.
Yeah.
It used probably twice as much fuel for that run as a conventional plane.
Yeah.
And carrying a quarter of the number of passengers.
Wasn't it flying on the edge of space?
Oh, you have to say that. Very high altitude, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was, yes, crash, back, bang. make the sound barrier. They did fly it in the city a couple of times to show it off, but they never actually made the route. They never actually flew into Sydney, partly because of getting permission to fly at supersonic speeds over countries on the way. Because people don't like sonic booms, don't know why.
Oh, man.
Well, all of it's just a loud bang. But a loud bang.
Was this on takeoff?
No, in flight.
Wow.
See, when the plane's flying faster than sound, think about the sound waves that it generates. They don't have a room to spread out. So what happens is it generates a single shock front.
Yeah.
And then that single shock front hits you as a bang.
Yeah.
In fact, have you ever heard close lightning?
Yeah.
You know that crack that it gives?
Yes.
That's a sonic boom.
Wow.
The light in the air is moving faster than the speed of sound. That is a sonic. That's that kind of sound, only louder.
But see, if a fighter pilot breaks a sonic boom, which they do, is that...
All the time, yeah. You hear them on the ground. You hear the bang on the ground. I only heard it once. That was in Israel.
Were you scared?
No. Because think about it. By the time you hear the bang, the plane's 40 kilometres away.
It's quick.
Well, it's flying fast and it's flying high.
Yeah.
So it takes 3 or 4 seconds for the sound to get down to you. And it's flying, at the order of a kilometre a second.
See, these fighter jets use up so much fuel, Patrick.
Same thing, yeah.
Is the pilot naturally putting the gas on the pedal, or do they just naturally fly that?
Well, that's the way
quick?
they built.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you owned a race-capable car. Yeah. You drive along the freeways, you drive at freeway speeds.
Yeah.
No, think of a police pursuit car. Think of the police pursuit cars. That's the closest thing to a fighter pilot that you'd understand. They should drive around at reasonable speeds. But if they want to get somewhere in a hurry, and fighters do have to get somewhere in a hurry occasionally, then they go fast. Yeah. But fighter planes normally fly at supersonic speeds. They normally fly faster than the speed of sound because part of the point of having a fighter plane is that you want to keep it out of sight, out of mind, as it were. And the faster you fly, the harder you are to see.
Yeah. It's all about stealth.
Your stealth's another story, yeah.
But that's why, if they paint it black, it's stealth.
Oh, they did more than paint it black. The black is simply to make it hard to see by reflected, visible light. And it's also coated with a surface. That black surface is also designed to absorb radar. And the shape of the plane is designed so that the radar doesn't reflect back to where it's coming from. Yeah.
Stealth bomber, U-2.
Now, the U-2 wasn't a stealth plane.
Yeah.
No, the U-2 was not designed for stealth. The U-2 was quite visible. That's why it got shot down.
Yeah.
Its near contemporary, which was the Blackbird, was the first stealth plane. I know. No, actually, the Oxcar, the single-seater version, was a stealth plane. It was designed to not have any radar reflection. Or rather, on the ground, when a Blackbird was flying overhead, it appeared about the size of a grapefruit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so very hard to identify as a plane, very hard to pick up and fly. It is also as damn fast. It was still the fastest plane ever built.
Well, that's...
Normal plane.
I mean, we're talking technologies of the 70s.
60s.
60s. To have this.
Oh, yes.
Man.
Yeah. They had it.
Yeah.
It was very expensive, very special. And it was a fuel guzzler. And it was made out of titanium, so they had real trouble servicing it. And because it much in flight that whenever it was on the ground, it leaked fuel at the rate of litres a minute.
Wow.
You could see the fuel coming out of it. So as soon as they got into flight, got up to speed, got themselves hot, they had to refuel.
Yeah.
They'd take off, go up to speed, and then they'd have to hook up and refuel.
Yeah.
By the time they heated up, all of those, it all expanded. I think it increased the length by about 30 centimetres.
Well, see, the U2 just glides.
Well, the U2, it was designed to operate at very, very high altitudes. It's the highest fly regular aircraft. By which I mean not rocket powered, not experimental. It's the highest. It flew ridiculously high, but not high enough. As Gary Powers found out when they shot him down. Yeah,
that would have been scary.
Yeah, but they were designed. He was supposed to have killed himself. He committed the unforgivable sin of surviving.
Yeah.
But anyway, it flew very high, quite fast, but not as fast as some of the other planes. But because of its huge wingspan, because it needed that to fly that high, the car is relatively slow compared to the really fast flying speed. It's fast. It became a glider. So yeah, you can turn this engine off and glide like a glider. And they're still using them. I think they're still using them now.
Gliders,
for weather watching.
Yeah. They're still around.
Yeah, they're flying above hurricanes and things. So they can get high enough to be right out of the weather.
Well, see, to be a U2 pilot, that's not easy to do, Patrick.
Oh, to be any of these specialist pilots was not easy. But the thing about the U2 was you were fully kitted in the space set. You're actually flying effectively a spacecraft. And there were other issues as well.
Yeah. Think about the Saturn V rocket that Werner von Braun built to take the astronauts to the moon.
Part of the input in the Saturn V engine, yeah.
That uses so much rocket fuel.
Well, any rocket engine uses a similar amount of fuel. It was an incredibly efficient, incredibly powerful engine. And they're bloody big. There's actually one of them in the Powerhouse Museum in Eltham. There's a Saturn V engine.
Wow.
And it's just this great big, size of a small tent, size of a medium-sized tent. You almost park a car in it.
See, space is so expensive, Patrick, and, the Russians got their Soyuz, but the trouble is they can't reuse them. It's all gone once it takes off.
The thing is, again, this was, when you think about it, these rocket engines are, most of them is the fuel tanks, because huge amounts of fuel, and getting these things back down to the ground safely was it's always been problematic. So what happened was they used to fire them off up and then just let them go. And really, it was it seemed wasteful, but it's not as bad as it looked. The space shuttle has one of its major problems was that it was twice as big as the NASA wanted it. NASA didn't want it. It had to be built big enough because the military wanted to be able to use it as well as NASA to put military hardware up. That's real. But see, the space shuttle was the first attempt at a reusable craft, and it lasted quite a few flights. And some of the SpaceX are recovering components of their flight systems. Which is, it makes sense to try to recover it, but, in the good old days, just as easy to build a new engine.
Let's talk about, Apollo 13, when they had their malfunction. That was human error on the ground. Did a dodgy job, I think, with the oxygen. And almost...
Well, again, something went wrong, something wasn't lined up properly, and Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Sorry, Houston, we have a problem here. Is what he actually said.
And they almost died, Patrick. 3 astronauts.
Oh, yes. I mean, don't forget that quite a few astronauts, cosmonauts, I don't know about the Chinese ones, have died.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a very, very high-risk trade.
Yeah.
Because, think about it, when you're taking off, you're sitting on 70 tons of high explosive.
Mm-hmm.
And bang, away you go.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bang behind your bum when you take off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was Apollo 13 movie with Tom Hanks. You seen that?
Which I suppose was fairly accurate. As I said, he misquoted.
You got to think how small that capsule is to fit like 3 crew members inside of that.
If you want to stay alive, you'll go. But then again, it's small. But have you ever been inside a conventional submarine?
Yes, that's cramped.
Exactly. I think how many men there are in that space.
More. And the beds are so small, even on the Navy ships, Patrick. I don't know how you could sleep in them.
Take a submarine, a conventional old submarine, when you look at the size of them for the number of people in them.
Yeah.
It's a bit hairy.
See, with submarines, what's given oxygen in the submarine?
It's not the oxygen that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Before you run out of oxygen, carbon dioxide buildup will knock you over.
Yeah.
So carbon dioxide is that currently 0.04% or something of the atmosphere, 0.4% of the atmosphere. 0.04 parts per million. Now, if it rises to about 2 or 3 parts per million, it will kill you.
Mm.
Sorry, you've got about 1,000 parts per million. If it rises about 1 to 2%, the carbon dioxide, what happens is your lungs won't recognise the fact that you need air, and your lungs will have to shut down, and you'll actually suffocate. And it's a very painful way to go. So what they can do is they can scrub the carbon dioxide out and just remove it chemically. Don't try to convert it back to oxygen. Just pull it out of the atmosphere. And I suppose the really big subs, the nukes, they probably do actually reconvert back to oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have, that's a simple chemical process.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy enough to know if you have enough energy, and they've got lots of energy to reverse the process.
Well, that's what happened with Apollo 13, Patrick, carbon dioxide.
Yeah, carbon dioxide build-up, yeah. It is what kills you.
But it's interesting how they solved it. It was quite complicated. How they did it with all the air.
Yeah, all sorts of clever things.
Yeah. Come back in a small capsule. From that.
It was a capsule that I'm going to come back in anyway eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was the landing capsule, so at least that's not as if it was. But they only supposed to spend half an hour in there.
And
So about an hour. The re-entry is actually quite a long process.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing they got back to Earth.
Oh no, that was easy, as they said in the film. We got a very easy target to aim for. It's called Earth.
Yeah.
They just pointed and shot.
Yeah.
And if you're smart, that's all they did. They just pointed and shot.
See, the capsule's an interesting engineering, Patrick, and how it lands on Earth too.
Yeah.
You know, to build that is so incredible.
Yeah, well, again, it's all a matter again of understanding the physics of it.
Mm-hmm.
That pear kind of shape with the big rounded bottom kind of looks funny, but you think it'd be better to have a pointy front. But actually, the big pear shape works better because what they do is have the bottom covered with what they call an ablative shield, which is stuff that actually melts. Melts off. You actually lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is that slows them down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole idea of slow them down.
See, when they break the Earth's atmosphere, it gets very hot.
That's what I'm saying. It's exactly how it works, yes.
Yeah, but inside.
It would get hot inside as well because there's most of the heat. That's why they have this boil-off surface.
Mm.
Most of the heat generation goes off as gas.
Mm-hmm.
Because it heats up the gas, and the gas takes the heat with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the really clever feature of design. If they didn't do that, it would get even hotter.
Mm. And you'd die. You'd overheat.
I don't know whether you die or not, but it does get hot.
Yeah.
Uncomfortably hot. Mate, geez, I wish I was dead hot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily killing hot. I haven't done the science.
Mm.
But that's the whole trick with actually having the that outer shell that actually boils off. That's why you get this red glowing and that flare beside it. You know the way it flares?
Yeah.
That actually is the shield wearing away.
Mm.
Boiling off and taking the heat with it.
Well, that's why they got to point the heat shield in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
You know, man.
Whereas on things like the space shuttle, that doesn't happen. The space shuttle actually glided, so it actually skimmed the atmosphere and it had a much slower landing.
Yeah. But
it took a lot longer to slow down.
The space shuttle had no brakes. Yeah, it's just got parachute. You know, when
I'm
it
sure it
lands.
had wheel brakes. I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, there's not much need for them, really. I mean, a roll will stop anyway.
Yeah.
And they had a long landing strip.
Mm.
And when it was on the ground, it didn't have any kind of way of driving itself. It was always towed.
Mm.
So, but they probably would have put that. So, it's a matter of weight. Do they put extra weight into a braking system, or do they save the weight for payload?
Mm.
And I hadn't thought about that, but probably could be to do with that.
But see, let's talk about, the politics behind space. It was funded by, taxpayers, NASA was.
Oh, of course it's funded by taxpayers. However, it is fairly good science.
Mm.
Most of it. I mean, most of what's being spent on space now is being spent on doing the kind of thing we are now, or communication.
Mm.
Most of money on space going into space now is communication or GPS and things like that.
But let's talk about the Mars thing. Elon Musk wants to send astronauts to Mars and back. Is that going to be possible?
Getting to Mars probably quite easy.
Yeah.
Quite doable. But what you do when you got there and getting back would be another story.
Mm.
Because don't forget, once you got to Mars, you've got to be carrying enough fuel to get you back.
Yep.
Or enough energy to get you back. Now, Mars is in an outer orbit, so kind of you're falling when you're coming, but there'd be less energy to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't need the sun, and Mars is lighter. Mm-hmm. So if you get off the surface of Mars, you wouldn't need quite as big a rocket. Mm. Things like that. But nevertheless, getting to Mars would be relatively easy. Getting enough material to Mars that when you got there, you didn't die instantly.
That's the hardest.
And critically, if you want to get back, getting enough material to get you back, that is the big job. That's why it is just a huge logistics job.
Werner von Braun said he wanted to go to Mars.
Oh, I think we all want to go to Mars. Damn it all, I wanted to go to Mars. Didn't you?
Yeah, because there's proven there's life on Mars too, Patrick.
Well, if you call something slightly more than bacteria life, yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, we wouldn't recognise, we probably couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's engineering for you.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah. Oh, I know, but the thing about that is we have to find somewhere else to live thinking, which is one of the alleged reasons behind going to Mars, is nonsense. Because we could never actually live freely on Mars. We would always be totally dependent on our technology. Even more than we are now. If you think about it, I mean, you would need humongous to support any kind of population. Your question about things like oxygen, etc. Okay, you take huge greenhouse plants, huge greenhouse and things like that with you. The engineering to keep you alive, keep any number of people alive on Mars would be so enormous that the same amount of effort could probably solve the entire greenhouse problem on Earth. That's the real issue. The solution isn't to escape the planet, the solution is to solve the planet. And similar amount of effort would be required each way.
Yeah, it seems like it's the rich who are funding space now.
Yeah, well,
Richard Branson is one because the space has become business, Patrick.
The Branson Bezos flying into space.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
Was it?
It is build themselves a giant roller coaster.
Yeah.
Without a track. All they did had a giant roller coaster without a track. It was not. They didn't really go into space.
But they were floating.
Not in any meaningful sense of the word. They kind of jumped in and jumped out. No, seriously.
Yeah.
But it's like I can say I've been in Burma. Because I walked off the back of the plane and stood on the tarmac. No, seriously, I mean, that's about as sensible as that. But to me, I don't think either has actually been in space. Not in any real sense, not in any meaningful sense of the word.
But why has space become business now, Patrick?
Why not?
You know, it seems they want to make profit.
I mean, this because, getting back to my earlier comment, communication and GPS and things are money. Big money. There's money to be made. If there's money to be made, why not make it? Why would they make it business? If you think about it. And the other one is, and this is the borderline interesting one, there will be serious money to be made in things like manufacturing in space. You know, when you're in space, manufacturing will be interesting. But mainly it is about the fact that there is money to be made. There is the absurdity of space tourism, that, as I said, really just take the roller coaster ride. But they went, I mean, if you're running a business where you can sell tickets to a ride for a couple of $100,000 a pop, well, I mean, you don't need many customers to make a profit, do you?
No. No, you don't. Exactly.
That's the thing to see. There really is. It's the people who are doing it simply people who want to go into space. That's it for bragging rights.
But that's not space.
As I said, it's not really. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They haven't really been into space.
But they were able to float for 15 seconds and then come back.
Well, but I mean, people float for longer in the vomit comet.
Yeah.
No. As I said, just basically giant roller coaster. They were high enough to get a really good view of the shape of the planet. That's the one thing that they did do. They were, with their own eyes, see, that globe that we only ever see in photos. But even then, they were seeing it through 3 inches of glass or in television lens, so that whether they were really seeing it or not, I don't know. If I was actually seeing it through glass, then I can see this, which I think they were. If they were seeing it on a television screen, then why bother go there to see it on a television screen?
You got to think, if you're going to fly a rocket to Mars, that thing's got to be bloody huge to be able to go there.
This is actually what I was implying earlier. You would most of the work involved in getting to Mars is in the first 40,000 kilometres. Once you get up to around that stationary orbit, 40,000 kilometres up, escape velocity is down to around 3,000 metres a second,
mm-hmm.
compared to 11,000 metres a second here.
Mm.
So and your energy is as the square of those. So you need a quarter of the power, a quarter of the energy.
Mm.
Because once you push it off from Earth,
mm-hmm.
you're coasting the rest of the way. Okay, it'll take you a year to get there. That's one of the problems.
Yeah, it's a long way.
It's a long way, and if you want to go faster, you've got two problems. That's where you're going to need a really big beast to get going faster.
Mm.
And then you're going to need a big beast to get stopped at the other end.
Well, see, they've run experiments on astronauts staying a year in space, Patrick, in the station.
Yeah. And they come back feeling pretty bloody crook.
Do they?
Oh, yes. They lose bone density and things like this.
Even while exercising, doing all that.
You can never do enough of the right. So much of the exercise we do is simply holding the body out, and the bones.
Mm.
The bones can never get that all direction load that they do when we're walking around.
So even when they run on their treadmill in the station?
Well, there's no load on them. There's no weight.
Shit.
Think about it. You see, you're loading the leg, but you're not fully loading the spine and the rib cage and the arm and things. You've got to actually work all of those separately. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of hard work.
So, like, this goes back to Mars because what's it going to take a year to get there, apparently?
As I said, roughly, plus minus.
And then what about coming back? It's another year coming back. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So if you just say we've got astronauts on Mars, does Mars would have gravity by the sound of it?
It does, but it's about a quarter of Earth's.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller, you see, that's the other thing.
Man, that's hard, Patrick. How you figured that out?
That really would be. And the other thing is, how many people are we going to be sending?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that we've got the same two people or three people for 2 years? No, seriously.
Yeah. They'd have to be sending, like, supply ships constantly.
Well, that's what I'm saying, the logistics. You're getting supplies to Mars first. Mm-hmm. If they found a good, reliable source of water, mm-hmm. Then all they need is energy. Mm-hmm. And they'd be carrying a nuclear reactor with them. Mm-hmm. Then they can start making water. They can start breaking the water down to get oxygen and things like this. Mm-hmm. And they can start growing plants. Mm-hmm. So that is, you would probably have to be vegan.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what the diet's going to be. Vegan.
You'd almost certainly have to be essentially vegan.
And water, are they going to use recycled water? Because
on the way there, yeah.
Because they use that on the space station, recycled water.
A lot of places use recycled water.
Yeah.
Singapore does.
Yeah.
London does.
Mm-hmm.
We actually recycle water in Sydney, think about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, we think it comes out of the Warragamba Dam. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, quite a bit of the water in the Warragamba Dam comes from the sky, and that's pretty fresh water. Mm-hmm. But a significant amount of Warragamba Dam water comes down the Wollongong River. Mm-hmm. And upstream Wollongong, we've got a couple of major cities up that river. Mm. And where does their mucky stuff go?
In the sewer. Yeah.
So we're reusing water.
Yeah, we do. See, let's talk about water, Patrick, because rainwater, apparently you can just drink it straight, can you? From the rain.
Well, okay. This is tricky.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, mm-hmm. living out in the regions, yes. Mm-hmm. Now, however, there are a couple of problems with rainwater. Mm-hmm. When it rains, you've got to catch that rainwater somehow.
Yeah.
So if you went outside with a bucket, got the bucket full of water, that would be clean rainwater. Mm-hmm. However, Sydney air is dirty.
Is it? Shit.
Oh, Campbelltown is like the dirtiest air in the state. Camden's, the only place worth is Camden.
Mm.
And quite a few of the stuff in the air is water soluble.
Mm-hmm.
So it picks up nasties on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it hits the ground, it's not as pure as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the problems. That's why they recommend you don't drink rainwater directly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I said, the amount it picks up is small. So it is probably as clean as Sydney as most water.
Mm.
However, if you catch it on your roof is filthy.
Exactly.
So that's why you don't drink tank water much.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they recommend you don't drink tank water.
Unless you have a filter in it, you can.
Oh, I think you don't drink unfiltered. Yeah, but you have to have a good quality 3-stage filter here.
So it's interesting because if you're in the middle of the outback and it rains,
rainwater will be clean.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying. Because you don't have all that city urban pollution.
But what about running water from a rock?
Well, if it's coming out of the ground,
yeah,
it's probably clean. Certainly biologically clean.
Mm-hmm.
It might have minerals in it. That's why they call it mineral water.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes out of the ground, spring water, that is almost always immediately drinkable.
Mm.
In fact, some of the cleanest drinking water in the world is that kind of water. On Easter Island,
mm-hmm.
they take the water straight out of a hole in the mountain.
Mm.
Basically, they drill a hole in the mountain. And what happens is that it's a volcanic crater,
mm-hmm.
and it has about 1,000 feet of sand in it. Water hits the top, and it's been so filtered by the time it comes out of that tap, it is as clean as water as you'll find in the world.
Mm.
And things like that. So some of these places, mineral water can be, but if it comes from deep underground, it picks up a lot of minerals.
Mm.
The water that comes out of the ground in Central Australia, the artesian water,
mm-hmm.
has all these things, soluble rocks in it, or they get some rocks dissolve.
Mm.
So it has all those other nasties, a bit of iron, rust, and all these other things in it, so it comes out quite brown.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, you don't want to drink it immediately.
Well, see, if you are surviving, they recommend you boil the water first.
Oh, yeah, good. They recommend you boil water wherever you are, if you don't know it yet.
What about they put, you can put purifier in it as well?
Oh, purifiers. When I was in Africa, we used purifiers.
Yeah.
A chlorine-based one, which I can't remember what it was. And it'd be 2 or 3 drops of water in a 40-litre can of water.
Mm-hmm.
Literally 2 or 3 drops. And that would make the water quite safe to drink.
Mm. It's weird, isn't it? Huh? It's weird how water can kill you as well.
Well, no, not weird at all.
Mm.
Because after all, water is the stuff of life.
Mm-hmm.
Water is life. Life is about water, really.
Mm-hmm.
Water is what makes life work. So water is a favourite environment for any kind of life form. Mm-hmm. So if a bug wants to live somewhere and sees some water, here's some nice place to live, so it lives in the water.
Mm.
So that's why you get buggy water.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is water dissolves things. Again, that's what the nature of water is.
Mm-hmm.
So it can dissolve all these nasty, toxic rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So it kill you, yeah.
Also, too, salt water, you should not drink salt water. That's dangerous.
Well, the problem is that if the water you drink is saltier than your bloodstream, water will go from the bloodstream into the salty water rather than the other way around as it passes through the intestine.
Mm.
See, the thing is, the intestine is a permeable membrane.
Mm.
And as the water goes through the intestine after it's been through the stomach, it passes through that intestine because it's a higher concentration on the outside. That's right, it's a higher concentration of salt on the inside. The water moves through trying to dilute the inside. Water likes to go from low concentration to high concentration to balance them out. So the water goes through into the bloodstream. If you're drinking salty water and it's more salty than the bloodstream, the water will actually go from the bloodstream into the intestinal tract. It goes the wrong way, and you'll end up actually drying yourself out.
That's bad.
Yeah, that can be bad, yeah.
You should watch. Have you watched that Man vs. Wild with Bear Grylls?
No. I'm amused by them when I see them occasionally.
He talks about salt water, and
he talks about a lot of things.
It's very tempting to drink it, but you shouldn't. But it's amazing. Mother Nature, like as I said before about water coming down off a rock too.
If it's coming from inside the rock, probably so. If it's coming down from a pool on top of the rock and it's rainwater, probably so. Because that rock has probably been washed many, many times by rain over the years. Again, depends where you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But that's what it is, Patrick, in space. Space is fascinating.
Yeah, well, in space, they have, to purify the water, they do the same thing as they do at the desalination plant. Exactly the same process in the desalination plant. A semi-permeable membrane. In other words, instead of water, this membranes, like skin of a grape is a good example, allows water to go through it, but nothing else. It's like a hyperfine filter. So if you have water, if you put enough pressure on the side that has the salty water, the water goes squeezed through the membrane. It's effectively a filter. But it's a hyper filter. And it comes out the other side as fresh water.
Wow.
But it does require a lot of pressure to do it because the natural process is for water to go from the low concentration to the high concentration to balance it. Yeah, interesting. But that's what I've been watching, Patrick, or like these shows, going back to like storms, for instance, if a cruise ship goes through a storm or a Navy ship goes through a storm. Well, storms are again the same kind of thing. It's just storms are a lot of energy. But it's as simple as that. I mean, and if you're at sea, the major effect is water moves. So if you get big winds, particularly gusting winds, the water doesn't move predictably. And you get these chopping, rampaging waves.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah. So you're sailing along and you're sailing a boat that's just at the wrong length. And the water falls out from underneath you. You're in trouble.
Yeah, it's not good.
And the other thing about is Navy vessels that, particularly destroyers, don't necessarily have the same stabilisers on them that a cruise ship has.
Wow. What about a aircraft carrier?
Well, they're big.
Yeah.
So big means it's hard to shove them around. So aircraft carriers can handle most storms through their sheer mass. But don't forget how big an aircraft carrier is, 300 metres long, weighs hundreds of thousands of tons.
Yeah, I've seen them. But again, it comes down to that military thing. Like, if we got to get there, we just got to push through the storm. Well,
again, that's only if they've really got to get there, and even then they'll work out the best way It's a balancing trick. They'll work out the balancing act. Nobody would drive straight into the middle of a hurricane unless, or for any reason at all.
Exactly. But again, if you're flying a plane through a storm and then lightning strikes or hits an engine, that's dangerous, Patrick.
Well, again, it's energy. It's energy. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often. But and again, one of the problems is when you're flying through the plane, through the air, you are building a charge on that plane. If your charge happens to be the wrong shape compared to the lightning, then it will attract the lightning, yes. But and then it's energy, so you'll get cooked, yes. But most, again, depending on the kind of aircraft, most aircraft can fly on one engine.
Yeah.
That's why, that's why they put two on them.
Just in case.
Well, I know, partly also because it's more efficient.
Yeah, it's like American Airlines, like that engine just coming off,
Well, that happened.
Yeah.
That was the wrong bolt into the pilot, if I remember correctly.
And there was a case too in America. I think it was a flight they were going from New York to California or something. And apparently the plane just stopped working and it just glided and hit a neighbourhood. All the instruments just stopped.
Yes, there have been cases of planes running out of fuel. There have been cases of complete system failure. And again, what causes that, we don't really know. I mean, they probably do work. I can't remember that one offhand. I'd have to see it before I'd remember it. But yeah, no, things. It's not, despite all the things you see on that show, think of the 50,000 flights that you don't see on that show for every one you do see.
Yeah.
And look at the dates on most of those episodes, how long ago they really are.
In the 90s, 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah. But see, you gotta look at air travel back then compared to now. Airport security wasn't as strict back then.
Well, people weren't running around taking over planes much. It was around 1975, 1976 that I became aware of it. Flying, I actually drove into London by bus. I actually drove into London from Sydney. Well, that's from Kathmandu.
Yeah.
But anyway, but when I left London, flying out the last time I flew out, it was a full, almost pat down search for out on the plane. That was the height of the IRA problems. So that was the first time I was aware of it. So this airport security has been pretty good since 1976. But it kind of came and went. And they've developed different technologies. I mean, nowadays you have the metal scanners and things, which make it a lot easier. But the idea is still the same.
What's the IRA do, Patrick?
Well, the IRA was a group of militants in the then Northern Ireland, still Northern Ireland, who wanted independence.
Are they law enforcement, or do they fight crime? The IRA?
Well, they were fighting a guerrilla, a terrorist type warfare. They were fighting bombing campaigns. I mean, they blew up a hotel in Brighton. They brought planes out of the sky, and actually were tripping planes. So yeah, and it was the beginning also at that stage of some of the Arab stuff. Although the Arab stuff really didn't hit until the 80s.
Yep.
But certainly, the IRA they were just a group of people who wanted change, didn't have a regular army, so they fought an irregular war, as they call it technically. They were trying to persuade through terror. They were trying, so they blew people up and things like this.
And then you got the DEA as well.
I mean, all these alphabets of various organisations. Doesn't matter much. They're all broadly the same.
Yeah.
And there's no real need for us to know all the differences.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
Yeah, well, if you're a member of them, it's important. If you're a target, it's important. Otherwise, it's a strange one. Yeah, no, as I said, you're an unusual kind of nerd here because seriously, air travel, is still about the safest way you can travel in terms of passenger miles.
Except for now because of the pandemic.
But except for in terms of passenger miles.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, you've got a small chance of catching the bug on the plane nowadays. That's the major risk of flying nowadays, catching a bug. And that's not the first fault of air travel. You're facing the same risk on the train in the central.
Yeah, everywhere, Patrick. Yeah. Everywhere. You know.
So air travel is still the safest way to travel. The probability of being killed on the way to the airport is greater than being killed on a flight to London. A road accident is more likely to kill you than a plane flight to London.
Yeah, it's dangerous on the road.
Yeah, the same. Yeah, 1 to 1. So no, it's all very, very. And think about road travel. How safe that is nowadays. And it is safe. You're too young. I mean, when it is comfortably in my memory when they were reporting 1,500 deaths a year on the roads.
Are you talking roadkill as in animals?
No.
People, because I know what it is with animals. I see it all the time.
Well, animals are another story again, but there were 1,500 people every year in New South Wales on the roads when we were driving a quarter of the distance we are nowadays. We're driving 4 times as far in total nowadays and still have less than 1,000 people killed a year. That's how much safer it is. 4 to 5 times safer. Better cars, better control in the cars, better control over the drivers. Like, it is no longer regarded as a good thing to go out and have a few beers and then drive home.
People still do it.
People still do it, but most people don't.
And that's good.
That's it. I mean, seriously, that was the bit. And the other one was seatbelts save lives.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But a lot of accident reduction is due to things like improved technology in the cars, but also the removal of intoxicated drivers. Because it was a significant number of road accidents, as you can call, were caused by people who were under the influence.
And your car insurance will not cover you for that.
Of course it won't, and I wouldn't expect it to. I mean, that's part of the deal.
Exactly.
So, as I said, travel, like all human activities, has a risk. I mean, I'm not quite sure what the risks be now sitting in this room just in front of me. I'm not likely to be struck by lightning because I'm not using a telephone. Well, I mean, in the old days, using a telephone in the storm was potentially lethal.
Yeah.
Because the lightning hits the ground and got conducted along the copper wires. I know that because up at St Pat's we had the library computers blown twice by lightning strikes. And there was no overhead wires or anything. The lightning hit the ground. Marco actually saw it happening. And it had such a power surge that it blew the computers out. Now, if you're speaking to somebody on the phone when that lightning hits that copper, then you're in the same state.
Mm-hmm.
So using the phone's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, everything has a small element of risk involved.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, is what I'm doing worth this element of risk?
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually a bit of a serious thought, but when you think about it, it's real.
Mm. Well, that's why it's advised not to answer the telephone in a storm anyway.
Exactly. Although, nowadays, with this phone,
yeah,
I feel quite comfortable, even though it is a good old-fashioned landline, because there's no copper wire outside on it.
Mm.
I find it the purpose, so if a lightning got me through that telephone line, it would be hitting the house. It actually hit the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon if the lightning hit the house, the phone would be the last thing I'd worry about.
Mm.
I'll do an actual strike on the house. Or certainly through the electrical system because it has a power supply to it.
Mm.
That's the other reason why they advise you not to, because the power supply can have a surge.
Yeah. No, it's funny. Natural disasters, Patrick. Like we've got floods. Always.
We've had the multi-factor this last couple of years.
Yeah, bushfire as well.
We've had drought, fire, flood, famine, fire, and pestilence.
What about tsunami?
We haven't had a tsunami in the east coast of Australia for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, again, improbable.
Mm.
Because to get a tsunami, you need the right shape of seabed
mm-hmm.
and the right source in that right direction.
Mm.
But basically, tsunami is something very big happens out in the ocean or on the ground somewhere,
mm-hmm.
and it sets up a small, very fast-moving wave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important thing. It has to be fast-moving.
Mm-hmm.
Because a small, not small, a very fast-moving, not very high, but very wide wave.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of water moving, and it's moving fast.
Mm.
And when that water hits the ground, it piles up and becomes a tsunami.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous.
You get like these big wave surfers surfing these huge waves, Patrick.
Well, they're mad.
Some of them being killed doing that too.
Oh, regularly. Oh, no. There are extreme sportists.
Mm.
People take extreme risks because that is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much? Every 2 or 3 people every year who are paid to go to every risk get killed.
Mm.
You know, it's a good year. They say it's a really good year if nobody gets killed.
Mm.
You know, but a rare year nowadays because people put themselves at risk for various reasons. To do with the thrill.
Mm.
You know, there are people who free climb rock faces.
Mm.
You know, if you're climbing, you know, I can understand people bouldering, you know, climbing 2 or 3 metres.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who go thousands of metres up in the air with no roping or backup system at all. If they let go, they fall.
Yeah, and some of them don't wear a harness.
That's what I mean, free climbing, yeah.
Yeah. Now, going back to like the surfing these big waves, you know, that's scary and dangerous too.
Again, there's a lot of energy in those big waves, but that is the point. On that surfboard, when you're riding that big wave, I am putting one over on it.
Mm.
And probably the same effect as you would have in a drag car.
Mm.
Because a drag car is essentially out of control too when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is just bang, boom. Or even with that matter, driving, you know, I'm not taking the drag car in particular, but that's just a huge amount of power being applied in a very short period of time, and you are basically there for the ride.
Mm.
Or for that matter, what Bezos wants to reject it, Amazon man.
Mm-hmm.
Vincent did, you know, when they caught those rockets.
Mm-hmm. He went to space.
Oh, but yeah, when he caught those rockets.
Yeah.
Same thing, they're taking a great big risk Because there is a huge risk in right on top of rock. Like I said, you're sitting on a cut several tons of high explosive. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong in a big way.
He's not a trained astronaut.
You don't have to be.
You don't? Oh, shit.
The trained astronauts are the ones who, if necessary, can control the thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a trained astronaut to fly the 747, do you? Same trained pilot. You're a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
He was a passenger.
Oh, okay.
And this is you don't have to be a trained astronaut to fly to the space station.
Mm-hmm.
They like you to have some training because you're spending time up there.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to work under those conditions.
Mm.
That's another story.
You'd have to. You know.
What astronauts training isn't all that different, all that specialised.
Isn't it?
Now, how to fly the aircraft. There's the physical stuff. I mean, you have to be physically capable of doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's important. But then you have to fly the aircraft.
Mm.
And then you have to be able to do whatever job you are on that aircraft or that spaceship before.
Mm.
And those jobs are different.
Well, think about it. You got to know what to do if things go wrong too.
Well, that's the training. That's the fly. That is part of the flying of it.
Yeah.
You need to understand the aircraft. I mean, you need to be a pilot. That's what a pilot's job is on 747, isn't it?
Mm.
To know what to do if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not hugely complicated, not hugely up the flight to that, but ordinary pilot.
Mm-hmm. Most astronauts were test pilots back in the day.
Originally to start with. Nowadays, most of them aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are astrophysicists or engineers. The big ones are engineers.
Mm.
Or some kind of scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, if you have a 4 or 5 person crew on a spacecraft, only a couple of them need to be able to fly it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are there for other jobs.
Mm. Well, you look at the Soyuz, everything's written in Russian in the manual.
Well, it's a Russian spacecraft.
So you have to know Russian on the Soyuz.
Well, that's why, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a fellowship. Well, that's what it is.
Cosmonaut, it is.
Fellowship, company, companionship, association.
Mm. You got to think how cramped up to be able to sit in that thing is. I don't know how you can do it, how your body would cope.
Well, have you looked at some of the early aircraft?
Mm-mm.
The Spitfire pilot had less room.
Wow.
I mean, I'd be almost too big to be a Spitfire pilot.
Mm-hmm.
That's how small they were.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd sit down there, they'd strap you in, and your knee would be touching the side of the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Your shoulders would be virtually touching the side of the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And my earlier comment about submarines.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Cameron's when he went down Mariana's Trench in.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cylinder that he stood in, and it was a little bit taller than him, and just enough around that he could slide into it, standing upright.
Yeah.
He could move. He could have moved.
Well, that's why they measure your height, because if you're too tall, then you can't do it.
Exactly. That's why, and submariners were always full for the same reason.
Mm.
There were no 6-foot submariners in the submarines.
Mm. You can't.
Huh?
You can't do it. Your body can't.
You're too big.
The same with a fighter pilot. What about astronauts? Same thing.
Historically.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the spacecraft is so much bigger.
Mm.
Well, the early spacecraft, again, were small. The same thing. You build as big as is needed to take the person you want to take, and no bigger, because the rule was that for every kilo put into orbit, you needed 70 kilos of fuel. Mm-hmm. Roughly.
Man, I don't know how you work that out mathematically.
Actually, I've got a photo of the equation there on my phone, but yes, something to do with
Yeah.
That's roughly it. That was just a number that I remember from my youth.
Well, think about the first person in space. This thing was just so small, could only fit one person.
Well, most of the original space flights were only one person.
Yeah.
When you had Gagarin, and then a couple of other Russians. That female went up, and then we had John Glenn and things like that from America. And they were just little bottles.
Well, talk about they sent chimpanzees, and a couple of them came back too.
Yeah, they brought quite a few of them back. They brought the dog back too, yeah. Well, one of the things was, these experiments were, can we bring something back alive? But it's quite easy to put somebody into space. All you need is a reliable rocket engine. Seriously. In fact, that was my first thought when Gagarin went into space. But has he got back yet? Because you get somebody into space, I mean, all you needed was a fairly big rocket. The Saturn V was hugely bigger than that. It's much later. We took Gemini class. And once you've got that, that's easy. Just bang, you're there. The trouble is getting back.
Is the hardest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, getting back alive, like, please.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Dangerous getting back.
Dangerous getting up there because these rocks do have a bad habit of blowing up on you. And quite a few have blown up, apart from the big ones that kind of has heard about more recently.
Well, that's why they got the abort.
Yeah, they abort, and the later ones actually do have an escape, actually have an ejection seat on them, ejection capsule.
Wow.
They actually fire the entire capsule off. And you might survive.
That'd be very scary, Patrick.
Yeah, and so that is the real problem. You need to be somebody who doesn't mind a bit of well-founded fear. Because if you're not a little bit afraid, you're going to be careless.
Well, you'd only do that when something really went wrong. Like, let's talk the space shuttle when Columbia blew up, Patrick. The space shuttle have an abort on it or not?
No, I didn't know. Well, the thing is that was already well launched. Once you're launched, I mean, what could they do? It blew up so fast. This is the problem. You see, once something like that blows up, the space shuttle itself got deranged. When they're sitting in a flying brick, the space shuttle's a flying brick when you think about it. A big solid container. And now you're not going to put ejection seats on that kind of thing because they have to maintain the integrity of it. So you don't want to have any, but that way they'd have to be sealed in, space suited up. The thing, it'd be really just extra weight. So they relied on it working properly. So once that booster started blowing up, and the booster was actually strapped right onto the side of the shuttle. The shuttle got destroyed effectively anyway, so there's no chance of them getting out anyhow. Whatever happens.
Well, because the Soyuz has an abort too. You can abort that on the Soyuz.
Well, most of them have some kind of abort system, but the abort system has to have a chance to work. Otherwise, if you think about it, you can discard things here, but nevertheless, you have to be able to. If you think about it.
SpaceX do. See, SpaceX are trying to improve all this stuff so much with their engineering.
They're trying to make it quicker. That's the thing, because it's commercial exercise. What they're trying to do is make something that works the best for the least. And that might sound funny, but that motivation means that they look for different ways for doing things rather than just going down the same path. So I reckon they'll probably do quite well.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
But see, what could be the future of space is there's going to be quite a few different companies flying different rockets too.
Oh, yeah, we'll get... there are several commercial or semi-commercial operations already ongoing. I mean, there's the French one out of here, French epical yarn, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
What it was that the more recent American model went from being it is something we do as a government to something that we'll sell out. We'll hire a spacecraft to do for it. Although, interestingly, when Trump founded what he called Space Force to go with the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, I don't know whether he was also talking about them having their own rocketry. This I don't, then they're totally crippled anyway. So you might see the military coming back into it in America. It would make logistical sense.
Exactly. But this was a great podcast with you today, Patrick.
Okay.
What are you doing for Christmas? Like, what do you got? What do you got planned?
My traditional one, Omicron or whatever comes after Omicron, Rove, Psi, willing, I'll be down in Canberra.
Yeah.
Family. I have a sister down there, family down there.
Yeah.
And for a few days, and then back here and back to Sydney.
Yeah, you still you're going to be volunteering for St Vincent de Paul's over Christmas.
Well, I'm going to take Christmas off.
Yeah.
I have a long tradition of taking a few weeks off. It's one of those things. Good heavens. I've been talking a long time.
All right, Patrick, I'll let you go.
That's right.
Thanks, mate.